Welcome back to NBA Cinema. So we have to talk about what Matt Barnes said. He went in and gave nearly a 4-minute speech on how Patrick Dumont should proceed. And a lot of his points in here I agree with, as far as Patrick Dumont trying to trash Luka on the way out the door. Now I think that was tacky because to make a deal, you have to sell the best version of that player. Now you want to tell the Lakers they got some trash, or someone with trash habits is what you're trying to sell. Now that you've made that transaction, right? So in the future, when a team is looking to make a deal with you, you're gonna say you only put or put things available or people available that are not up to par. And so Matt Barnes kind of went in, and I'm glad somebody did. Let's take a look at Patrick Dumont arriving to the game the other day. Let's be.
Two shots.
And so this is going to be his new normal for the foreseeable future, especially after the Anthony Davis injury the first game. And he was playing really well. So any hopes of the fan base moving on is going to be put on hold briefly, or maybe even over an extended period of time, depending on how long it takes for AD to come back. Nothing fixes this but a championship. But let's get into what Matt Barnes said, man. That's what we came for.
I'm going to start with Patrick Dumont, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, who a couple weeks ago made one of the biggest trades in NBA history. You can agree or disagree whether it was a good trade, bad trade for any team, and this by no means is demeaning either player in the situation. But what I had a hard time with was him trying to kick Luka on the way out, disrespecting him every step of the way. And this is a guy, from everything we researched, has no history in sports, and particularly no history in basketball. This guy married into money and was gifted this position. We've all known and loved Dallas for a long time. Obviously, Mark Cuban's going to go down as one of the greatest owners in history. It's always been a destination and always been one of the best ran organizations, not just in the NBA, but in professional sports history. But of late, it almost seems like things have been crumbling. Over 2,000 Dallas Mavericks subscribers have dropped their subscription. There's been protests at the arena. They bought graves to the arena. Jason Kidd didn't speak to the media after the first game with AD. It's just kind of been a mess. Fans were thrown out of the games for bringing posters that were, I guess, jeopardizing or disrespectful towards management. And it seems like once an organization that was once highly touted and looked at as one of the strongest and best organizations is slowly crumbling in front of us. When Patrick Dumont talked to the Dallas media, he said that Luka just really doesn't fit the shape almost of the greats before him. The Jordans, the Birds, the Shaqs, the Kobes. Spoke on his work ethic and him kind of being a lazy player and all kinds of, again, just disrespectful things you normally don't hear from an owner. But does this surprise you? This kind of reminds me of the guy sitting in the Oval Office right now. Always disrespecting, always kind of take low shots at people, but to no surprise, this leadership of the Dallas Mavericks donated $100 million to Trump. So maybe they took a page out of his book on the disrespectful tip. Now, I'm not saying that Luka doesn't have a lot to work on when it comes to the way he carries himself towards the refs, his lack of effort, his complaining, and just his energy overall. But let's not forget, this guy is 25 years old. This guy has taken his team to the NBA Finals last year. Took him to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago and dropped 73 points, which is the fourth highest total in the history of the league and second highest in this era, right behind Kobe's 81. I always thought this situation was above Nico. I always thought this had to be coming from the top. We all know this new ownership tried to come in and do the whole casino thing, and it just didn't pan out. Then they tried to make a jump to Vegas, and that didn't pan out. So when their pan was empty and they made a bad trade, now all they can do is try to talk shit about Luka. But we've all seen Luka. And again, does he have some flaws? I think every player has some flaws. Does he have some things he need to work on? Absolutely. But to try to demean and disrespect one of the greatest players in the game, and arguably someone who will go down as one of the greatest players in history, I just think it was very poor taste. Also, the Mark Cuban angle is interesting because when he sold the team, we all caught word that he'll still be in on basketball decisions. Maybe that was a promise given by new ownership that they didn't follow through with. But when Cuban heard about this, he tried everything he could to stop it, but it was too late. Luka is loved and beloved in the city of Dallas. In a state that's known for the Cowboys. The biggest star was a 25-year-old Slovenian kid that has come over here and taken the league by storm. So much that in Luka's debut game, Lakers versus the Jazz, guess who was sitting in the crowd to show his support? The one and only legendary Dirk Nowitzki. Mr. Dumont, take a step back, take a seat. You know nothing about hard work or what it takes to be great. You married into money. Sit with this trade that you made. Hopefully Anthony Davis gets healthy, and I wish Dallas Mavericks the best moving forward. But shut the fuck up, man.
There's a need for more competent owners in the game of basketball. Typically, these guys have several other business ventures. That's how you get to a billion, even buy a team, obviously. But this guy married into the family and was gifted this position. And it seems like, the casino is the thing that he cares most about. He doesn't care anything about the fan base or, the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, he would have known not to trade Luka. So when you have your billions and somebody marry into the family or, even your kids, if they take over, you have to have some knowledge of the business that you're in, or you will have these type of things happen. Now, the fans, I don't know how far they're going to go with this as far as protesting, but, to get someone like him out of that seat, don't show up. That's what you would have to do. Don't show up. Leave the TV turned off because if as long as you're supporting, they'll take you screaming and yelling from the crowd because you still pay for that ticket to get in there. So they still are getting the money uh, from you. But taking those subscriptions back, like some of the fans have done, that's where you start. That's a start, for moving forward if you want this man out that position. Now, they ain't gonna bring Luca back. Luca's time with the organization is done unless, somewhere in the future, uh, there's a new ownership group or whatever, and they make it right with Luca. But I don't see that happening in the span of Luca's career. So I'll say uh, Luca's gone now. There was no need to trash him on the way out the door because he's out the door. You know what I'm saying? You traded him and you if what you're even saying is true, say everything you said was true hypothetically. That will be true in the future. Um, we'll see, right? We'll see. Time will reveal if Luca doesn't care to take care of himself. He's a lazy player who never has the desire to get better on the other end of the floor, anything like that. Time will tell us that. So we'll just have to wait and see, man. We just have to wait and see. But no need to trash him. You got AD, and the Lakers could have said, "Oh man, Anthony Davis always hurt." So they think they got somebody, but they didn't. They didn't get nobody either. That's what they could have said as far as his injury history, but they didn't. The things they said about AD on the way out the door is the same things you should have said about Luca. However, I think it was difficult for them to do that just with his age. Again, if you would have see, this is what Patrick Dumont is trying to do. If you would if you would have just traded Luca and said all the great things, the fans would say, well, why didn't you keep him? He's only 25 if you have nothing but great things to say. So the caveat is, okay, he's lazy. He's not like Kobe, Jordan, Bird. He's nothing like those players. Um, and so that makes it justifiable by them to trash him because it's a different situation than AD. Trading him at 25, there is no correct answer. So the only thing you could do is kind of throw salt on it. So I guess from that viewpoint, I understand why they did it. I just don't understand why they said anything. They should have just did it and let it play out. They knew it was going to be backlash from this, and most of what Matt Barnes said, I agree with. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.